Today we start our new unit on the coordinate plane. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of the coordinate plane, we're going to do a quick review on number lines. Let's look at the number line in front of us. All number lines have a name. When we see a horizontal number line, for the sake of this unit, we're going to call that line X. So at any point when I'm referring to line X, I'm really just referring to this horizontal number line. We also know that in 5th grade, we're going to start our number lines at 0. And the end point for the number lines will vary depending on what problem we do. Let's get into some vocabulary before we actually look at this number line. The first vocab word I want to go over is the origin. When we're speaking about the origin, we're speaking about 0. The origin for any number line is literally the point 0. So in this case, our origin is right here at the 0. The next vocab word we're going to go over is unit. The unit is simply what we're counting up by. Let's go ahead and take a look at this line X. What is it that I'm counting up by? Well, if I'm starting at 0 and I'm trying to get to 1, I'm noticing that I'm making 1, 2, 3 jumps to get to 1. That means that this number line is cut up into thirds. So I'm going to go ahead and label this number line 0, 1/3, 2/3, and at 1 would be 3/3. Remember that we can continue on in two ways. I can continue on as a mixed number, so I can say that this is 1 1/3, or I can continue on as an improper fraction, and I can name this 4/3. These two are the same value. 1 1/3 is equivalent to 4/3. Let's go ahead and label the rest of this number line using mixed numbers. After 1 2/3, notice that it would be 2. Then you kind of start the pattern again. 2 1/3, 2 2/3, 3 wholes, 3 1/3, 3 2/3, 4 wholes, 4 1/3, 4 2/3, 5 wholes. And I'm very quickly also going to put the improper fractions right below. You should get used to doing both the mixed number and the improper fraction when you're dealing with number lines, as sometimes they'll ask you for the mixed numbers and sometimes they'll ask you for the improper fraction. It really all just depends on the question. All right, so we know our origin is 0. We know our units is what we're counting up by. Or you can think of it of the number of partitions. Now, let's learn about the coordinate. When I'm looking for the coordinate of something, I'm looking for the location. For example, I want to know the coordinate of the sun. I want to know the location of the sun on my line X. When I look for the sun, I notice that the coordinate is 1/3. I'm going to go ahead and write this down. The coordinate for the sun is 1/3. Let's go ahead and try another example. Now, I'm looking for the coordinate of the cloud. Go ahead and look at line X and see where you find the cloud. I see the cloud right over here. the coordinate of the cloud is 2 2/3. Or if they were asking for the improper fraction, think about what else you could call this. That's right, 8/3. So I know the coordinate of the cloud is 2 2/3, or you could also say 8/3 if they were looking for the improper fraction. Notice how easy it is to find the coordinate of these shapes after I label my number line with the units. Always make sure when you see a number line, you are first labeling with units and then answering any questions. All right, last one. This time I'm looking for the coordinates of the star. Go ahead and take a moment to look at your number line. Where's the star? Right over here. I know the coordinates of my star is 4. Or if they ask you for the improper fraction, you could also say 12/3. That wasn't too bad, right? All right, last thing we need to know about number lines. There's this special thing sometimes they ask for. It's called the midpoint. The midpoint, it's kind of self-explanatory. Go ahead and think in your brain, what does the word mid or midpoint mean? Yeah, midpoint, it kind of sounds like the word middle. When you're looking for the midpoint, you're literally looking for the middle of 2 values. Let's do an example. I want to find the midpoint between the cloud and the star. So I want to find the midpoint between the cloud and the star. That means I have to find the very middle of these two numbers. All right, so let's see. The middle is where they would equally meet. It's the halfway point. When I look at the cloud and the star, I'm noticing that this would be right in the middle, right? Because they would both have to travel 1, 2, 1, 2 to get there. It's equal. It's right in half. It's the middle. The midpoint between the cloud and the star would be 3 1/3. Let's go ahead and write that on the side. The midpoint of that's not a sun, the cloud and the star is 3 1/3. And remember, if you want to get fancy, or if the question asks you for it, you could also say the midpoint is 10/3. In this video, we reviewed important vocabulary when dealing with number lines. We also now know that when we have a horizontal number line for this unit, we're going to call that line X. We identified that it's important whenever you see a number line to make your units and label your number line. We now know that a coordinate is a location on your number line and that the midpoint is right in the half point between two number lines. And let's not forget that origin, which just means your 0 point on your number line.